If you've been telling yourself that you need to stop training until life calms down after kids, then I'm going to show you why modifying is always better than quitting altogether, and exactly how to do it without losing your momentum and everything you've built. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Jen. I help moms who are serious about fitness and were active before having kids rebuild their strength, their systems, and their identity after motherhood. This channel is all about training, operating, and thinking like you were before you had kids, just in a new season, which is motherhood. And today, I'm going to be breaking down the difference between modifying your fitness versus abandoning it, because most moms think they're doing one thing when they're actually doing another. So let's dive in. Something that I always see a lot of moms do when they were consistent with their fitness before having kids is that at some point their old fitness routine stops working. For example, you might be in your first or second trimester and you are exhausted all the time, and this is your first time being pregnant, or maybe you're in the newborn phase and you're functioning on 3 hours sleep, or you're in the toddler phase where you can't really get a chance on your own. I totally get it. But when the old routine stops working, usually you have two choices. The first choice is that you choose to modify your fitness routine in the life that you're currently in, or you stop entirely and you tell yourself that you're going to restart when life calms down. The problem is that things never calm down. The newborn phase becomes the toddler phase becomes the school phase, not because you lose all your fitness, but because you start to lose the habits, you start to lose the identity, and you start to think of yourself as someone who used to work out versus who's someone who does. But something I do want to get clear is the difference between modifying your fitness versus abandoning it. And this is where I think a lot of moms get the two confused. What abandoning sounds more like I'll start on Monday, or I start when the kids are back to school, or I'll start in January. It's always future focused. But when we're always thinking about the future and the conditions that are the future, most of the time the condition is not met, and that goalpost is getting further and further away to the point where you finally want to start your fitness again and it just becomes overwhelming that you just quit altogether. Instead, modifying your fitness sounds something like, okay, I can't get a workout in, I'll work out for 30 minutes, 45 minutes max. Or if I can't train 5 times a week, I'll train in 3 times a week and I'll make those 3 workouts the best. Or if you can't follow the program exactly to a T, can you modify your rep range, your set range? These are the things about modifying your fitness is really going to help bring the momentum and the consistency that you're looking for. The key difference here is that abandoning removes training entirely out of your life, whereas modifying modifies your fitness in the life and season that you are in. The main goal is to maintain the habit, the identity, and your strength at a baseline level so that when life starts to open up again, you're not starting from ground zero. I've seen moms abandon their fitness for 2 or 3 years after kids that when they finally are ready to go back into it again, they feel so tired, weak, overwhelmed, and discouraged that they end up quitting. Versus moms who modify, and this is something that I do in my personal experience, especially with baby number 2 on the way, is that we adjust our fitness based on the season of life that we are in. Again, it's maintaining the habit and the consistency when life changes. If you're watching this right now and you feel like you're in the abandoning category rather than the modifying category, I've built something for you. Go down in the link in the description. It's a 10-minute assessment called the Postpartum Kickstarter. It's an assessment that's going to ask you honest questions about your energy, your time, your strength, and really allow you to pinpoint what you need to focus on right now in the current season that you're in. Not where you used to be, not where you want to be, but where you're currently at today. So go grab that free assessment down in the description and let's get back into it. So here's how I modify my training for myself and the moms that I work with. And this is a 4-lever modification system called the Momentum Framework. Essentially what it is, it has 4 levers to it. It consists of frequency, duration, intensity, and format. For example, frequency, if you were someone who used to train 4 to 5 times a week before having kids, maybe it's time to modify that to 3 times a week. The second layer is duration. For example, if you were someone who was used to training 60 to even 90 minutes or even up to 2 hours before having kids, then let's modify that to somewhere as 45 minutes to even an hour max. Now that I'm a mom, I train no more than an hour. I think I'm in and out of there in less than 45 minutes from start to finish. And it is the most bang for my buck for my time. And it is something that I truly enjoy and I still get a lot of gains from it. The third lever is intensity. And I think this is where a lot of moms can kind of get wrong sometimes. When I mean intensity, I don't mean always necessarily going easy, but modifying the intensity of your training. For example, if you are someone who's used to training 4 to 5 sets at a time per exercise, let's modify that down to 3. And and still put in 100% of that effort into those 3 sets. And you'd be surprised how much more gains you'll actually get and how much better that you feel just modifying those few set ranges. And the fourth lever is format. So if you are someone who's used to training at the gym, maybe that's modifying it to working out at home, or maybe switching to dumbbells versus machines, depending on where you are at and the equipment that you have readily available. The point of having all these 4 levels is allowing yourself to have options, contingency plans, instead of quitting altogether. Here's the mindset shift that changes everything. I don't want you to tell yourself that you are someone who's going to take a break from fitness. As a mom, you're in a different season, and so your training is going to look different. That is not quitting, that is adapting. And this is something that athletes do all the time. And something that I wish moms can adapt is the mindset of being an athlete, because the sport that you're actually in is motherhood. And something that athletes do is that they modify their training based in the season they're in. So if they're in the off season or in the on season, or they're an athlete who's injured, for example, they're going to train and change how they do things in a very different way. When you modify your fitness and your training based on the season you're in, you don't stop becoming the person who trains or the person who has discipline or the person who is strong. You are just expressing it in a different way. And this is something that I've experienced myself, especially through my first pregnancy and now my second pregnancy. And we will see how things go in my postpartum the second time around. But there is a huge difference to moms who continue to modify their fitness in every season that they're in, because they still are maintaining a level of consistency where they are, and they ultimately don't lose their identity altogether. So if this resonated with you, please let me know in the comments. And if you are someone who's feeling stuck and overwhelmed and want to figure out where your next steps should be, go make sure to click the link in the description and grab your 10-minute assessment to the Postpartum Kickstarter. I kid you not, it's going to give you so much clarity in the season that you're in. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.